Hey guys, Miles here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so I know we are all still patiently waiting for any sort of details about the global Dokkan campaign that will be starting in July, and is of course, as we keep saying over and over again, as it's the main thing that they've kind of tried to drill home about this celebration, that this is an anniversary level celebration. So people are expecting some pretty great things, and obviously one of the big expectations that I myself am still sort of subscribed to, I still am very much all aboard the train, that Daima is going to be involved in the celebration in some way, shape or form. Now, we've talked about various different concepts for how that could take place, both on streams and on the podcast. And there's a couple of different ways they could do things, and one of the big ones that we talked about is that Daima might not necessarily be the sole theme of the celebration, and so what other stuff could we potentially see that combines those two, like combines Daima with something else that is appropriate and works together well as a celebration. So one of the things that we have discussed is the idea of like GT and Daima because of the Super Saiyan 4 connection. And so today we're going to take a look at a little custom celebration designed by our boy Prof. If you're a regular in my streams or the Discord or just the Ningen Club community in general, you probably know who Prof is. We've gone over him being a big Heroes fan. The number 2 Heroes fan behind me, of course, has done a lot of Heroes concepts in the past that we've also talked about. So he's done a concept for the Global Dokkan campaign. I believe we did already know that it was going to be called that, but it's he gave it his own unique name, the Dragon Festival, right? So first Dragon Fest Dokkan Battle, Fateful Battles Dokkan First Dragon Fest Global Celebration. I mean, I'm not sure. Obviously, the celebration, I guess, could have its own name because there's sometimes like a subtitle, right? Like, so it could, I guess, be called like Dragon Fest, the Global Dokkan Campaign, right? I guess we don't really know what the full title is going to be. But yeah, here's a concept for the celebration. We're just going to go through it and go through the units and some of the events and stuff like that. And let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. If you guys have any thoughts on what the theme should be and what you would like to see for the Global Dokkan campaign. Do you think it could be full Daima? Do you think it needs to be Daima supported by something else? And what else works well with Daima that makes sense as like a connecting theme, right? So gonna go ahead and just jump straight in here. So obviously we got Countdown Easy A's, we got the Worldwide Celebration, Cooler and Birdcoo. It would be very interesting. I mean, I guess because it's part of the countdown, maybe people wouldn't complain, but it's interesting that Prof has gone for the not much appreciated, I would say, by the community idea of having both the units EZA from one single Extreme Z battle. But I mean, I guess it's one of those things. If the campaign itself gives out a ton of stones in total and we get a bunch of EZAs and stuff like that, I don't think it really matters. We know that they always set aside a certain amount of stones for each celebration. So, I mean, it's better to get 2 EZAs as part of one thing because they're only going to give out a certain amount of stones, so the alternative is only one of them EZAs, right? But STR, Final Form Cooler, and Tech Birdcoo, I feel like these guys will probably EZA as part of the Global Dokkan campaign. Super looking forward to these. STR, LR, Final Form Cooler was my favourite unit in the game, like when he came out. So very much looking forward to him getting a bit of a comeback. Good old Mario ad right in the middle of the thread there. Thanks, Twitter. Then we have a couple of other things here. So we've got the login bonus missions. Obviously, that's a typical thing. Purunga Dragon Balls campaign. So obviously, I think that is that's a bit of wishful thinking, I suppose, with the idea that we get the free headliner unit again. I mean, I guess the wish doesn't necessarily have to be for that. It could be like the old school version of the thing where it's like each week you collect the 7 Dragon Balls and you get some decent rewards. I don't think we will necessarily see the Purunga style like 10th anniversary where everybody just gets a free headliner. I don't know if we will ever see that again. Obviously that's one of the more generous things that Dokkan has ever done. So obviously that would be awesome, but yeah, not sure if that's something that we will see again at any point. Would be great, but you never know. And then yeah, the Dokkan Festival X Carnival, we're going to go over the units, but it is a Vegeta and Sin Shenron that transforms into Omega. We're going to go over all their details. Then we have a Shadow Dragons edition of the Red Zone. So I guess a stage for each one of the Shadow Dragons. Super Easy A for STR Omega. Easy A for Int Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. And Easy A for Tech Super 17. So, I mean, these both being separate Easy A's, we've already got a good, like, 90 stones worth of Easy A's right here with the countdowns as well. So that's pretty cool. And then the part 2 stuff, again, I'm not going over each of all these things in great amounts of detail, but we've got the part 2 Carnival and Dokkan Fest Super Saiyan 4 Daima, Goku and Goma. We'll go over their details. And then we've got a couple of other things here as well. The EX part Easy A's being the part 2 worldwide celebration characters, I think is pretty cool. And then the other things here that we can take a look at is the Dokkan Festival and Carnival. Then a Daima special event, defeat the Tamagamis to collect the Dragon Balls. So this could be another high difficulty event with some decent rewards. The Fighting Legend Goku Daima edition. So the legendary Goku event, but Daima edition. This could be really cool if they actually make it like difficult, right? Because remember when they brought out the legendary Frieza event, it was not difficult, right? The GT Goku event was kind of hard when it came out at the time, but the Frieza event was not. So I would like to see this be, because I'm, as you guys know, as I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of the Festival of Battles, but like something that's a little bit shorter than that, but of a similar sort of difficulty. Like the Goku event was when it first came out, right? Where if you're not careful, you can get to the end and you can just get taken out by the final Goku, which in this case would be Adult Super Saiyan 4 Daima Goku. So a Dokkan event, like a new Fighting Legend Goku that was actually hard, like endgame difficulty, would be really cool. And then also the Easy A for the Kid Gohan. I guess because he's on demonic power, I suppose it is relevant to the Daima stuff, but obviously this guy getting a Easy A would be very, very cool as well. So that's like a brief rundown of the stuff that's in the celebration. We'll take a quick look here at the unit designs. Now, obviously there's a lot of text on here, so I'm not going to go through absolutely everything. Stuff like the links and categories are things that we would expect for these types of characters because they're in the game already. But the unit would start out, this is the Dokkan Fest for part 1. Is a GT base Vegeta. So he's got Vegeta Family, Giant 8 Power or Battle of Fate as his leader skill with the plus 50% to GT Heroes or Power Beyond Super Saiyan. And then he is stacking attack on his 12 key and greatly raising defense for 1 turn. Greatly raises attack and defense, so both as a stack on the 18 key. Mega Colossal Damage and raises allies attack and defense by 20%, self-excluded. Typical links we would expect. He has an entrance animation if you have a Giant 8 Power ally in the same turn, or 3 or more GT Heroes allies on the team. And that gives him damage reduction, a bunch of extra stats, and then disable enemy action. Guards and launches an additional super for 3 turns. And then his base effects are solid stats, a bit of damage reduction, high chance to dodge, support for Giant 8 Power allies. At the start of the turn he builds up key and attack and defense. From turn 3, which is where obviously he would lose his guard and additional super from his intro, he then has a high chance to get an additional super and a great chance to guard. After his active skill is activated, he fully recovers HP, guards all attacks permanently, attack and defense 100%, damage reduction 30% and chance to dodge plus 15%. So that puts his dodge up to what, 65%? And damage reduction of like 44. Now the reason is this is an interesting mechanic because Prof did give me a bit of clarification for it. This is after his active skill. So basically what this character has is he has an active skill where he turns into a giant ape, can be activated when there's a Shadow Dragon enemy, so that could be straight from turn 1, or starting from the 4th turn from the start of battle once only, and he turns into the Golden Grey Ape for 1 turn. Now this is the inclusion of that new mechanic that we saw in a data download a while back, where it's the active skill that triggers in like all 3 slots at the same time. And as we speculated back when we saw that, the only way that really makes a lot of sense is if that's going to be an active skill for a giant form type thing. So basically the way this works is you can transform into the Golden Ape for 1 turn, where he massively raises attack temporarily, does destructive damage with his super, he gets extra 2 key per key sphere, gets an additional attack with a high chance to become the Ultra Super, and it's only 1 turn, and then he transforms back into the GT Vegeta. So that's where this part of his passive then comes in. After his active skill, when he goes back to being the Vegeta, he then has permanent guard, gives you a full heal, gets a bunch of extra stats and dodge and damage reduction, but while you're in the Giant Ape, you can use the active skill Can be activated when there's an ally whose name includes Goku attacking in the same turn, or when there are another 4 or more GT heroes or Giant Ape power allies on the team. And then instead of actually getting to attack with the Giant Ape, because obviously this would be available as soon as the turn starts, he then transforms into Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. So I think that's very interesting, because it, depending on how this Vegeta works, like it gives you the option to either attack with the Giant Ape, which gives you that invincible turn, cancels out an enemy boss, super or special abilities, and then you go back to the base Vegeta and he has a bunch of buffs. Or you just transform into the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta instead, who I imagine is probably more offense based. He raises attack and defense, so infinite stack on both for the 12 key, greatly raised infinite stack on the 18 key, with 4% chance to crit, which I guess it's chance to perform a crit 4% in battle. I guess that stacks, so that's interesting. And then base effects, decent stats, additional super, 70% chance to dodge. Giant 8 power allies, 44% attack and chance to crit 20%. So this combos really well with the Carnival Super Saiyan 4 Goku, because he's giving those allies defense and damage reduction, and then Vegeta's giving them attack and crit chance. For 4 turns from his entry turn, he has 44% damage reduction and a scouter. Starting from turn 5, he drops to 22%. If he receives an attack as the first attacker in the turn, he gets 144% defense and an extra 22% damage reduction. Second or third attacker, he gets extra attack and an additional super. And then if there's a Goku in the same turn, he guards and gives Giant 8 power allies an extra 44% attack, not including himself. So he'd be doing 88%, which is kind of crazy. And then he has an active skill, can be activated when there's a Shadow Dragon Saga enemy or from the 4th turn, turns into the Golden Ape. So that's interesting, because obviously it's a bit odd for him to go from 4 back to the Golden Ape in terms of like the actual in-universe canon, but I guess you could do this so that you can then turn into the Giant Ape again. You've already used the active skill because you've got Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta out, so then because you can't use the active skill again, you get to play out that Giant Ape turn, and then he transforms back into the base Vegeta. But I mean, this guy seems good enough that I don't know if you would transform back again. It's certainly a very interesting design. Let me know what you guys think. The idea of switching back and forth, or switching between the Super Saiyan 4 back to the base, is certainly very interesting. Then we have a banner unit, Naturon Shenron. I mean, as unhype as that is, it makes sense for him to be a banner unit because it's not a character that people would care too much about. But having another uniquely named member of the Shadow Dragons, especially for GT bosses, would be beneficial. Greatly raises defense on super. Shadow Dragon Saga allies get extra stats for 2 turns on super, so that's pretty good. Typical Shadow Dragon links and categories. Entrance animation for Dragon Ball Seekers enemy or Shadow Dragon Saga Extreme Ally. Gives stat buff for the rest of battle and 7% chance to dodge for 7 turns. So I'm guessing he has dodge already, yeah, high chance. Gives extreme class allies support. When attacking, gets a huge buff. Dragon Ball Seekers or Shadow Dragon Saga enemy, extra 40%. Okay, so against the right enemy, for the first 7 turns, this guy has 97% chance to dodge, which is kind of crazy. After receiving 3 attacks, they then get a guaranteed dodge on the next turn. And then as the 3rd attacker in the turn, so this would be, this guy pretty much hands down is the best floating 3rd slot support unit in the game. Although specifically it is for mostly extreme Shadow Dragon Saga, but that's kind of what GT bosses needs, right? We actually need some busted units if that category is actually going to be any good. And then we also have the Sin Shenron that transforms into Omega as a Carnival LR, full power 220%. I don't know if we would get another one because this is Gohan's leader skill, but obviously him having GT bosses or Shadow Dragon Saga would kind of suck. But greatly raises attack and defense on the 12 key, greatly raises attack and defense, and greatly lowers attack and defense on the 18 key. Links, obviously very typical Sin Shenron links. Entrance animation, if there's a GT hero or Giant Ape enemy or another Shadow Dragon Saga Extreme Ally, gives extra stats, additional super for 3 turns, 77% damage reduction, and then launches an additional Ultra Super for 1 turn. So this is cool because it's the extreme version of the 7-year anniversary EZAs, where you have that massive damage reduction on the first turn, which makes him essentially an invincible slot 1 unit on turn 1, which is cool. Base effects, key and stats, 2 additional attacks, each of which has a high chance to become a super, high chance to dodge, debuffs enemies attack and defense, which is a very typical Sin and Omega type thing. With each super, ultra super performed, builds up attack and damage reduction. When receiving an attack, extra defense when HP is 77% or less. And then when there's another Shadow Dragon ally in the same turn, gives Shadow Dragon allies support. Standby skill, Dragon Ball Absorption, can be activated when HP is 77% or less, starting from the 7th turn. I mean, 7 obviously being specific for the Dragon Balls, but that is a bit awkward that it's turn 7. Stands by for 3 turns, which 7 cracked Dragon Balls appear, so essentially just a different visual version of the Dragon Ball mechanic. Charge count increases by 1 per key sphere obtained by allies, and by an additional 6 per Dragon Ball obtained. So if you get all 7 of the orbs, you're obviously going to have, what, 30 odd, and then you get 1 per key sphere as well. So this is the absorbing state, I guess. So can't attack, is it? Yeah, unable to attack, 77% defense and guards all attacks. I think the defense needs to be higher than that, right? Well, it's got 77% damage reduction with 18 or more key, and then 77% defense per key sphere obtained when receiving an attack. Okay, changes one type of key sphere other than tech to tech. So yeah, if you pick up like 10 orbs, he gets 770% damage defense when he gets hit, and has 77% damage reduction. Okay, so that's and guard. So yeah, can't take damage basically. Builds up your number. So if you get your charge count to 49%, 49 or less, standby ends, you recover 50% HP, and then get 7 key and 77% attack and defense for 3 turns, but you go back to being Sin. And then once you've got 50 or more charges without collecting the Dragon Balls, you can raise attack by 177 temporarily, raise attack an additional 17% temporarily per charge count, and causes ultimate damage to the enemy, and then you would go back to being Sin. So if you get 50, you have to get all 7 of the Dragon Balls. So if you don't get them and you get 49 or less, you just heal and get a buff for 3 turns. If you did get 50 or more and don't get the Dragon Balls, you do a massive attack and then go back to Sin. And then if you get 50 or more charges and you have the Dragon Balls, you transform into Omega and heal 1% per charge count, which is cool because obviously it's going to be 50 or more, so you're going to get at least a 50% heal. Become Omega Shenron. Greatly raise attack and defense on the 12 key, greatly raise for 3 turns on the 18 key. Typical Omega links, really good key in attack and defense, 2 extra key per key sphere, 35% damage reduction, and extreme class allies, key support and damage reduction. Extra damage reduction for 3 turns, so very, very strong, like that's what, 56%. Additional with a high chance to become a super. When receiving an attack, 77% extra defense and a guaranteed additional super. 24 key gives him another guaranteed additional super. Gets 200% attack on the 18 key. If there's a giant 8 power enemy, extra damage reduction and guaranteed crits. And when there's a Shadow Dragon Saga ally in the same turn, he gives 77% attack and defense to Shadow Dragon Saga allies. So bear in mind, he's already giving the extreme allies 2 key and damage reduction. So like this guy linked up with this guy would be absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I guess obviously you wouldn't have big bad bosses, but yeah, that would be very, very crazy. So very, very powerful units. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. And then obviously for the part 2 Carnival units, we have the Daima Super Saiyan 4 Goku. He's the Dokkan Fest, Goku Family, Power of Wishes, or Daima Saga. I mean, I'm not sure. Will we see that when there's going to be, what, like 5 or 6 units in the game total? I'm not sure. But for the base categories and then Accelerated Battle or Battle of Fate get the extra things. That's interesting because it means like none of the other Super Saiyan 4s are on his leader scale, which is a bit of a shame. 12 key super, greatly raise attack and defense for 1 turn. Gives him a 4% attack and defense raise for the rest of the battle, which stacks, so it's like Glorio super attack effect. And then his ultra super is greatly raise attack and defense, mega colossal damage to the enemy, and then there's some missing text there. Broth will have to let us know in the comments what that was supposed to be, and I'll pin it. Entrance animation, where he gets guaranteed crit for 1 turn, 44% damage reduction for 4 turns. 4 key, attack and defense 240, high chance to crit. Additional key per type orb and 2 key per rainbow orb. For 1 turn on entry turn, guards and does an additional super. So with the intro as well, on that first turn, he's got guaranteed crit, guard, additional super, 44% damage reduction. When attacking, 200% attack, 20% crit when key is 18 or more. Additional super when key is 24. After doing 6 or more attacks or super attacks, he gets guard and a guaranteed additional super. When receiving an attack, defense 44% up to 200% within the turn. So if he gets hit, what, like 5 times, it goes up to 200% extra defense. All allies key for the turn, once per turn self-excluded, so it's kind of like the Beast or Orange Piccolo thing, where he gets hit, gives everyone else key. Active skill can be activated from the next turn after receiving 4 attacks or starting from turn 4. Gives 24 key, defense 444%, is a taunt, and gets an additional Ultra Super for 1 turn. So no transformation, got a taunt active skill, which gives a crazy amount of defense. And then, yeah, obviously all these other buffs from getting hit would all come into play as well. So that's pretty good. Definitely seems very solid. It's funny because as crazy as some of these units are, like, I feel like Omega's probably better than this guy, although this guy will hit some insane numbers. And then we got an Aransu banner unit, Daima Saga or Demonic Power. Just raises attack and defense and seals on super. High chance to dodge, supports Daima Saga with 24 key. I'm assuming this is meant to be 12 key because it's a TUR. Attack and defense 150, additional attack that has a high chance to become a super for each enemy present, so good against multiple enemies. Second or third attacker, demonic power allies 5% damage reduction. After dodging, dodge chance an extra 30%. And then when the target enemy is stunned, sealed, or action, but that's interesting, or like Ghost Usher, I guess that means. Attack and defense 100% and attacks guaranteed to hit. So interesting. Aransu as a banner unit I think works very well. And then we have Goma. I think there's a thing, yeah, there's a thing missing. This is the added bit because the right side was missing off the image. So Goma would be a terrifying Conqueror's Carnival LR lead for 220. Greatly raise on the 12 key, greatly raise attack, which is an infinite stack, and then greatly raise defense for 1 turn on the 18 key. Raises damage reduction rate by 30%. So after doing the 18 key super has 30% damage reduction. Links, Cold Judgment, Nightmare, Big Bad Bosses, Master of Magic, Demonic Power, Fist, Battle, Legendary Power. Yeah, that makes sense. Categories, he has the Giant Form, Full Power, yeah, Daima Saga being a new thing, of course. I'm not sure about Heavenly Events, because, like, well, I guess he does go to the Lookout at the beginning of the series, but... because normally, isn't it, Heavenly Events is for characters who... well, I suppose I was going to say gained some sort of power or something from the Lookout, but I guess Super Boo didn't. I don't know, that's an interesting one. So entrance animation when there's a super class or pure Saiyan enemy, 50% damage reduction when receiving a super attack before attacking for 1 turn, demonic power allies attack and defense 50% for 5 turns, basic effects 5 key 250 stats, guards, high chance to crit, 2 extra key per key sphere, 24 key gives him a big attack and defense buff, additional attack with a high chance to become a super for each enemy present, when receiving an attack survives KO attacks up to once within the turn. After receiving 5 or more attacks in battle, when the character or an ally is KO'd, revives with HP fully restored. Interesting that this, I mean, I'm assuming it would still be, but this doesn't say once only, which revivals obviously should be. When the character or an ally's revival skill is activated, attack and defense 150 for the rest of battle, launches an additional super for the rest of battle, and delays enemy action for 1 turn. Active skill, Power of the Demon King, can be activated from turn 6, massively raises attack temporarily, causes ultimate damage to the enemy. Demonic power allies, attack and defense 80% for 1 turn, which is pretty cracked. I would love to see this guy because of the regeneration thing that he has. My issue with survive KO attacks is obviously you can survive the KO attack and then anyone gets hit again and you just die. I really want someone to have an ability where it's like survives KO attacks and then has a thing that like whenever HP becomes like 1% or less, heals like 50% once only. So you survive the KO attack, but then instantly heal 50%. So the next attack doesn't necessarily instantly kill you. Now, obviously this guy, if he's received 5 or more attacks, if the next attack kills him, he just revives anyway. And then on the next turn that he comes back, he has a Ghost Usher and gets a massive buff. So he seems pretty good. Demonic Power, obviously he works really well with like the Heroes Demonic Power units, which is fun for me, and I'm sure probably was deliberate from Prof. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Certainly an interesting idea for a global Dokkan campaign themed around GT and Daima. Let me know what you would pair Daima with if you think Daima is going to be the theme of the global Dokkan campaign with something else. Or do you think Daima has enough possibilities to cover the whole campaign itself? I mean, characters like Super Saiyan 3 Adult Vegeta, Majin Ku and Majin Du, obviously the mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku. There are other options for 4 new characters to all be Daima, but I definitely do like, and I'm a fan of the idea of it being Daima split with something else, and having that Super Saiyan 4 connection with GT makes a lot of sense to me. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.